Hi everyone, today I'm back with a new video and I'm just showing you guys all the books that I purchased in the month of Feb and let's get started. So the first book is a Treasury of Tales from the Kathasaritasagara, retold by Sinbad, and it's in a lovely artwork paperback and it contains short stories falling into these categories, and these are stories from known folk tales, other stories that have been passed on the generations from word to mouth. And these are there are quite a few stories that you might already know if you have been brought up in an Indian household, and there are also stories about animals and stories from the Panchatantra and so on. So cute little stories that are really fun to read. And obviously, because my kiddo is not old enough to read this book by himself, what I do is I read the stories, and what I deem as suitable for his age, I narrate it to him. So it's a good book with a good collection of stories that you can read and pass your time. And I really love the artwork on the cover page. So let's move on to the next one. The next book that we have here is the Grand Chapati Contest. That's written by Asha Nehemiah, and it is a thin paperback, and it's got lovely artwork, and the text is big and comfortable to read, and it's well spaced and well sized. So I think it's really great for kids who are beginning to read or who read by themselves, and it's also a good book to read to your kiddos. So the whole story is about a king wanting to eat chapatis, and he's holding a contest to see who can make the softest chapatis that he likes. So it's a really good buy. I didn't expect this treasure to be as good as I thought it would be from the reviews on Amazon. So let's move on to the next one. So the next book is more for myself than for my son. My son loves listening to the stories of Sinbad, and when I came across this, it was actually an autographed book, and I thought that it would make a good addition to our library. My husband and I are really crazy about autographed books, and so I went ahead and I ordered this, and it's got these crazy amazing reviews on Amazon. And I haven't read this book, but it's very promising, and I plan to read it as soon as I finish the current two books that I am reading. So this is on my TBR list, and I think maybe if I read it, I could probably comprise it or tell him snippets from the story, and that would make him, his imagination of Sinbad a bit more real. But I'll do a more detailed review on this book once I read it. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this book was this book is a new release. I pre-ordered this on Amazon based on the reviews that I had for the other books by the same author, and I thought that it would make a good addition to our library, and the story seemed quite interesting for me to read as well. And so it's all about two brothers who went dream walking of sorts, and they have their adventures there, and one of them gets stuck and the other one has to go and rescue them back. Now obviously no pictures, it's not meant for preschoolers or toddlers or kids. I think this would be like maybe ages 8 and up, I think. I'm not sure, but it feels that way. But maybe after I read this, I could read it to him. If not, we'll just wait for him to be old enough to understand this. But again, I am super excited about reading this book, and I would be picking this up as soon as I finish with Sinbad. Then the next book I have is Temple Tales by Sudhaji Tilak, and this contains short snippets and stories about all the main temples in India. And I'm really sorry, I'm having a cold right now. Yeah, so So this contains folk tales and legends, heavenly feast. So these are all the categories, and inside each category you have several small stories. So the first category is folk tales and legends. This is a gorgeous artwork of Aldhanareshwar. So yep, this is for the temple in Palani, Tamil Nadu. So there's a short story explaining something about the temple, of how the temple came to be, or some interesting little part of the story of the temple and the deities. And then it's again, after that we have the Lord of the Moon, that is the Somnath temple, and what the temple stands for. And you have these cute little boxes inside which you have some itty bitty I would say a fact of sorts, or a small bit of information that you might not be aware of, and it makes for a very interesting read. And this book covers most of the temples, or I mean at least the well-known temples of India, and since we've already been to quite a few of them, it makes for a very good and interesting read to find out more about the temples and the deities and the rituals that have been performed in the temple. So lots of information to know, especially if you are a ancient history buff of sorts, like you, but the temples and the architecture and stuff like that. So all that is mixed up along with the religious tale behind it, makes for a great read. And currently my kiddo is also at the age where he is asking questions about the temples, or about the rituals that we do and the deities that we worship at home. And these stories are really interesting for him, and what I make it easy and simple for him to know, and the rest would be, I would save it for when he's older. So let's move on to the next one. So the next book I have here is Amma, Take Me to Shirdi. This is by Bhakti Madhur, and this is all about, we already have Amma, Take Me to Tirupati in the series, and it is a great book with lovely illustrations, and it takes you through the entire journey of visiting the temple at Shirdi, and the rituals and the offerings and the story behind the temple and the deity. And it also takes you through the life story of Sri Sai Baba, and the people who have been affiliated, like who have been around at his time. And it makes for a very good read, especially if your kids are older and if you plan to visit Shirdi anytime soon, or if you have visited Shirdi recently. The same goes for Amma, Take Me to Tirupati as well. I haven't read the Golden Temple part of this book, but I plan to get that when I find it at a good discount. So it's quite a thick book, and it makes for a very interesting read. Even for adults, it's quite interesting because it takes you through like the entire journey, and I really like that. Then the next book that I bought is Discover India series by Sonia Mehta, and this is Festivals of India. We already have another book on festivals, but I think this has this covers quite a bit more. Like it has more shorter explanations, just one page for each festival, but I think it covers a lot more festival than the other book that I have. And it's got like pictures of the actual festival celebrations, like in the main area, and certain interesting facts and illustrations. So I think this is a grow with your child kind of book, wherein you can show them and teach them about the festivals that they are already aware of, and as and how they grow, I think it would also help them to read and find out for themselves about all the little facts that are a part of the festival, and the logic behind it, or the reasoning behind it, and the story behind it. So I think this would make a very good book, especially when your kids start proper school and they're old enough to write about this or celebrate this at school. So this has been a good buy. The ages are 8+, so primary school level. So the next book that I have is The Bookworm by Debbie Gliory, and it's such a gorgeous book. So this is a story about a boy who wants to have a pet, and he decides to adopt a pet from the garden, and that's a worm that likes reading books. And he makes it its friend by reading stories to it, and that worm becomes a dragon and then flies away. And it's a very interesting story, especially if your kid is a fan of dragons. If your kid loves dragons, I think this would be a very good addition to your collection. We already have a couple of other books with the dragon theme going on, and I think the illustrations are beautiful, and it's a really great story. So that was a very good addition. The next book is The Dawn Chorus by Suzanne Barton, and this is a hardback book that I managed to get at Amazon at almost 50% the original rate. So it's got these really nice thick pages that I like, beautiful amazing illustrations, and there's this bird who wants to go and learn how to sing and with the other birds, and it's a beautiful story that goes on about making mistakes and still not giving up, and I think that is the most beautiful part of it. So another great buy, and although the book is a bit old and dusty, it came from Amazon exactly like this, but I still think it's worth it. The next book I got is the Germ Academy. This was again a new book that had no reviews absolutely on Amazon or on Flipkart. I bought this off Flipkart, and I really like it. So with the COVID-19 situation going on as it is, I think this was a really good book to teach my kiddo about viruses and bacteria and germs basically, and what they do to our body and how they are evil monsters. And the story is just amazing, and the artwork is so bright and vibrant, and it's really interesting to look at. So yep, that is the book, and that's all. So we also have the superheroes who fight the monsters, and I think that's why this is such a great book to have at this time with the pandemic going on. Let's look at the next one. So this book is Counting Creatures by Julia Donaldson, and I really love this book. I love the cover page because it is so shiny. It's so interesting to look at, and it has all these beautiful laser cut flaps, and the book takes you through different animals and birds, and you lift the flap up and you count their babies, and some flaps are truly gorgeous, and the artwork is just beautiful. The papers are not very thick. These are not like the Usborne board book kind of thick papers, but these are like thick but not that thick. So if you're not careful with this, the flaps can tear off quite easily. So especially with younger kiddos, you need to be a little careful. And this is again another favorite flap of mine. So you count how many baby mice are there, and so on. So what you learn in this book is also the animals and what you call their babies, and along with counting. So I think 25 is the last number. So this book teaches you to count up to 25, and I think that's perfect for preschooler kids. And that's the spider. You will find spider in all the pages of the book that you don't realize, but there a spider here? I don't see one. So maybe not on all the pages, but some pages. I think, yeah, there's one right here. So anyways, let's move on to the next one. The next book is Pink and Blue by Ritu Vaishnav and illustrated by Vishnu M. Nair. Again, it's a book written by an Indian author, and I think that it really caters more to the Indian audience. Like, there are some things that are so common in India. So it's all about boys and girls not being as different as people generally make them out to be. So it's okay to like pink, and boys can like pink and girls can like blue, and they can play sports, and they can play with dolls, with hair and with colors and with everything. So you can play however, and it teaches your kid to be just normal and casual with boys and girls, so that there doesn't need to be any awkward feeling or feeling weirded out with a boy's company or a girl's company. It also teaches you equality of the genders, and I think that's why this is again a book that if you introduce it early enough to your child, you could truly benefit with them learning to respect both genders equally, and not making excuses for treating someone a particular way, or trying to be a particular way. So both boys and girls are equally able to do what they like and what they should do, and there's no difference between them, brothers and sisters or friends. So no difference between mom and dad either. And I think that's the true beauty of this book. It's a masterpiece, and I am so glad that I purchased this. It was also pretty easy for my son to understand this. It was not difficult or boring for him, and he understood that there's no difference between him and his girl, or I would say female friend. So yep, great buy. And now to the last book, again a dragon themed book. This is gorgeous. This is the best purchase of this entire month, and I am so very glad that I went ahead with this and I bought this. So there is no dragon in this story. If your kiddo loves fairy tales, this is the book for you, because this is a whole mishmash of fairy tales. So this dragon has walked away from his fairy tale and he wants to go into other fairy tales, and then he's mixed up with the other fairy tale characters, and the whole story unfolds with Jack and the Beanstalk, and the giant, and Red Riding Hood, and Three Little Pigs. You also have Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Hansel and Gretel, Cinderella, and Gingerbread Man. So yep, it's a great story, very interesting to read. I probably would have read this book at least 10 times before reading it to my son, and then he is always asking to read this book with me. So another great buy. Do check this out if you are in the store or at the library the next time. So thanks for watching all my videos, and I know it's been a very lengthy video, and thanks for staying so long. And if you enjoyed watching it and found it helpful, please don't forget to click on like, and don't forget to share and hit on subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. Bye bye.